Let me ask you something. When you look in the mirror, do you see potential or excuses? Do you see the man you are or the man you know you should be, but keep postponing? Because deep down, you already know the truth. There is more inside you, more strength, more discipline, more fire. And if you don't fight for it, life will slowly take it away. This is not about motivation. This is about a decision, a line in the sand, a moment where you stop settling and start becoming. You were meant for more than the version of life that merely keeps you busy without fulfilling you. More than routines that drain your energy and habits that numb your ambition. Somewhere along the way, you were taught to play it safe, to aim for comfort instead of greatness, to quiet the voice inside that keeps pushing you towards something bigger. But that voice never truly disappears. It waits. It shows up in moments of frustration, in late nights when you wonder why you still feel empty, even though you're doing what you're supposed to do. That dissatisfaction is not a flaw. It's proof that you were designed for growth, expansion, and impact beyond the ordinary. You were built to stretch, to test your limits, to step into challenges that demand more of your strength and character. Comfort may feel good in the short term, but it slowly erodes your confidence and dulls your sense of purpose. Every time you avoid difficulty, you reinforce the idea that you are less capable than you truly are. But every time you choose effort over ease, something powerful happens inside you. You remember who you are. You reconnect with the part of you that refuses to settle, that knows deep down you are capable of more discipline, more focus, more courage than you've been using. There is a version of you that operates at a higher standard, a version that doesn't wait for motivation but acts from commitment. That man doesn't waste energy complaining about circumstances or wishing for better conditions. He understands that growth requires pressure and that pressure is not the enemy. It is the forge. It is what sharpens decision-making, strengthens resilience, and builds self-respect. When you begin to live at a higher standard, your actions align with your values and your life starts to reflect the respect you've finally chosen to give yourself. Most people live far below their potential not because they lack ability, but because they lack belief reinforced by action. You don't discover confidence by thinking differently. You build it by doing difficult things repeatedly. Every hard choice, every early morning, every moment you push forward despite doubt becomes evidence that you are more than your fears, more than your past, more than the limits you once accepted. That evidence compounds over time, reshaping how you see yourself and what you believe is possible. You were meant for more responsibility, more discipline, more ownership over your life. Not because it's easy, but because it's meaningful. When you stop negotiating with your potential and start demanding more from yourself, life responds differently. Opportunities appear where excuses once lived, strength replaces hesitation, and purpose replaces drift. And the gap between who you are and who you could be begins to close. Pain is not here to destroy you, it's here to direct you. Every moment of discomfort, every feeling of frustration or pressure is carrying information, trying to wake you up to the fact that something in your life requires growth. Most people treat pain like a warning to retreat, but strong men learn to read it as a signal to evolve. Pain shows you where you've been avoiding responsibility, where your standards have slipped, and where your potential is being challenged to rise. If you listen instead of running, pain becomes one of the most powerful teachers you will ever have. The problem is that we live in a world that constantly tells you to avoid discomfort at all costs. Take the easy path, numb the feeling, distract yourself, lower the bar so you don't have to feel the strain. But every time you silence pain without learning from it, you delay your growth. The discomfort doesn't disappear, it just shows up later, stronger and more demanding. Pain ignored becomes regret, and regret weighs heavier than effort ever will. The path forward isn't found in escape, it's found in engagement, in stepping directly into what challenges you and refusing to be controlled by temporary feelings. Pain also reveals your true level of commitment. When everything is going well, anyone can stay focused, anyone can feel confident. But when resistance shows up, when the work gets heavy and the results are slow, that's when identity is formed. Do you quit or do you adapt? Do you complain or do you sharpen yourself? Pain strips away excuses and exposes what you're really made of. If you stay present in it, if you breathe through it and keep moving forward, you build resilience that no external circumstance can take away. There is strength on the other side of every difficult season, but it only belongs to those who are willing to pass through the fire. Pain demands honesty. It forces you to confront your habits, your discipline, and the stories you tell yourself about what you can handle. When you stop treating pain as an enemy and start using it as feedback, you gain clarity, and clarity leads to power. You begin to see obstacles as training grounds and pressure as preparation for the next level of your life. Pain is not the stop sign that ends your journey. It's the signal that tells you where to push, where to focus, and where to grow into the man you are capable of becoming. Standards shape destiny because they define what you accept, what you reject, and what you repeatedly tolerate in your life. Your standards quietly determine the quality of your thoughts, your relationships, your work ethic, and ultimately the direction your life takes. Most people don't fail because they aim too high. They fail because they allow too little from themselves. They lower the bar in moments of fatigue, justify poor decisions in moments of emotion, and slowly train themselves to expect less. Over time, those lowered expectations become a lifestyle. And life always aligns with the standards you enforce, not the goals you talk about. A man's standards show up most clearly when no one is watching. They reveal themselves in how you manage your time, how you speak to yourself in moments of doubt, and how quickly you correct your course when you fall short. High standards don't mean perfection, they mean accountability. They mean you refuse to make excuses for behavior that keeps you small. When you raise your standards, you create a gap between who you've been and who you're committed to becoming. And that gap forces growth. You either rise to meet the standard or the standard exposes what must change. Every breakthrough in life begins with a decision to no longer tolerate a certain level of thinking, action, or environment. You don't wait until life improves to raise your standards. You raise your standards so life is forced to improve. That decision may feel uncomfortable at first because it requires letting go of familiar patterns and sometimes familiar people, but comfort is a poor metric for success. Growth demands friction, and standards are the friction that sharpen your character and strengthen your discipline over time. When you operate at higher standards, your identity begins to shift. You no longer act based on moods or circumstances, but from a deeper commitment to who you are becoming. Your actions become more deliberate, your boundaries more clear, and your confidence more grounded. This internal alignment creates momentum, and momentum changes outcomes. You start attracting opportunities that match your level of commitment, not because of luck, but because you are finally prepared to handle them. Destiny is not something that happens to you. It is something you build through the standards you live by every day. The way you train your mind, the way you respond to pressure, and the way you hold yourself accountable are writing your future in real time. When you refuse to lower the bar, even when it's hard, you shape a life that reflects strength, purpose, and self-respect. No one is coming to save you, and the moment you fully accept that truth, your life begins to change. Waiting for rescue keeps you passive, dependent, and frustrated, always hoping that circumstances will shift or someone will step in and make things easier. But life doesn't reward waiting, it responds to ownership. When you stop expecting external solutions, you are forced to confront your own power. Responsibility may feel heavy at first, but it is the weight that strengthens you, the pressure that turns potential into capability. Blame is one of the most seductive traps a man can fall into because it temporarily protects the ego while quietly destroying progress. It's easy to point to the past, to other people, or to unfair conditions and use them as reasons for staying stuck. But every excuse you accept steals authority from your future. The strongest shift you can make is from asking why this happened to asking what you're going to do about it. That shift moves you from victimhood into leadership over your own life. When you accept that no one is coming, you stop negotiating with your weaknesses. You stop waiting to feel ready and start acting from commitment. Discipline replaces wishful thinking, and clarity replaces confusion. You realize that your habits, not your hopes, are shaping your outcomes. Each small decision becomes a vote for the man you are becoming, and over time, those votes compound into identity. This is how confidence is built, not through talk, but through repeated proof that you can rely on yourself. Self-rescue requires courage because it demands honesty. You must look directly at the areas where you've been avoiding effort, where you've settled for comfort, and where you've been living below your standards. There is no one to hide behind, no one to hand responsibility to. But in that honesty lies freedom. When you own everything, you control everything that matters. Your effort, your focus, your response to adversity become deliberate rather than reactive. The truth is, being saved keeps you small, but saving yourself forces you to grow. When you become the source of your own strength, your own discipline, and your own direction, life meets you differently. Challenges no longer feel like punishments. They become tests of character, and with each test you pass, you step further into the man you are capable of becoming. Discipline builds the man confidence can't, because confidence is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable. They rise when conditions are good and disappear the moment resistance shows up. Discipline, on the other hand, operates independently of mood, motivation, or external validation. It is the quiet decision to do what must be done regardless of how you feel in the moment. A man who relies on confidence will hesitate when doubt appears, but a disciplined man moves forward anyway, and that movement is what creates real strength. Most people chase confidence before they act, waiting to feel ready or certain before taking responsibility. But readiness is built through repetition, not thought. Discipline forces you to act when your mind wants comfort, when excuses feel justified, and when progress feels slow. Each time you follow through despite resistance, you send a signal to yourself that you can be trusted. That self-trust is far more powerful than confidence because it is grounded in evidence, not emotion. Discipline is not about punishment or rigidity. It is about self-respect. It is the daily practice of honoring your commitments, especially the ones you make to yourself. When you wake up early, stay consistent, and hold your standards even when no one is watching, you build an internal foundation that doesn't crack under pressure. Confidence without discipline collapses when things get hard, but discipline creates stability, and stability creates momentum that carries you forward through uncertainty. Over time, discipline reshapes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who finishes. Your actions become predictable in the best way, aligned with your goals rather than your impulses. This consistency changes how you think, how you speak, and how you show up in every area of life. You don't need to hype yourself up because your habits have already done the work. Strength becomes normal, not forced. Confidence often seeks approval, but discipline seeks results. Results change how the world responds to you and how you see yourself. When pressure hits, discipline holds the line. When emotions fluctuate, discipline remains steady. It is built in silence, in repetition, in choosing long-term growth over short-term comfort. And it quietly forges a man who stands firm regardless of circumstances. Decide who you become now, because indecision is still a decision and time will not wait for clarity. Every day you delay choosing, life chooses for you through habits, routines, and patterns that slowly harden into identity. You do not wake up one day as a certain kind of man by accident. You become him through repeated choices made when no one is forcing you to act. The present moment is where direction is set, and the future is simply the result of what you decide to do with what is in front of you right now. Becoming someone new does not require a perfect plan or total certainty. It requires commitment. Commitment to act before you feel ready, to move before fear disappears, and to step forward even when the path feels unclear. Waiting for confidence or perfect timing only reinforces hesitation. Decision creates momentum, and momentum creates clarity. Once you choose a direction and move with intent, your mind begins to align with your actions, and doubt loses its grip through motion. Identity is not discovered, it is constructed through behavior. You become disciplined by doing disciplined things. You become strong by choosing effort when comfort is available. You become focused by removing distractions and honoring your priorities. Each decision, no matter how small, is shaping your character. Over time, those small choices accumulate, and what once felt forced becomes natural. This is how transformation happens, not through dramatic moments, but through consistent alignment between what you say you value and what you actually do. Most men underestimate how powerful a single decision can be when it is followed by relentless follow-through. The decision to stop tolerating mediocrity, to raise standards, or to take ownership of your life shifts everything. It changes how you see yourself and how you respond to pressure. When you decide who you become, you stop drifting and start directing. Energy that was once wasted on doubt and comparison is redirected into growth and execution. The moment you decide is the moment you take control. Not control over outcomes, but control over effort, focus, and response. That control builds respect for yourself and signals to the world that you are no longer waiting to be shaped by circumstances. You are shaping yourself through choice, discipline, and deliberate action starting now. Fight for more every single day by raising your standards and refusing to settle. Choose discipline over comfort and ownership over excuses. Let pain sharpen you, not stop you, and decide who you become through action. This is your moment to step forward and become the man you were meant to be.